Hi, I'm Clever Ghoul, but you can call me Nikki. Welcome back to the channel. This week, I'm going to teach you how to take things from the Dollar Tree and upgrade them so that they have more of an antique finished look. This is probably the easiest project I've ever done. It's only 2 steps, and it shouldn't take you more than half an hour tops. So with that being said, let's get into it. For materials, you'll need the following: a pair of rubber gloves, or thinner plastic ones if you want to use your fingers to apply the rub and buff. Rub and buff in whatever color you want. I chose antique gold, and I bought mine as a set with these foam applicators, which I'll link below. Whatever you want to antique. For today's video, I'm going to be doing a tree topper. Alcohol ink, I used black and gold, isopropyl alcohol, and a toothbrush. As always, I will link anything I didn't get at the Dollar Tree in the description box below, and I do earn a small commission, so thank you. Before we get started, I want to explain why I chose rub and buff over spray paint. You can of course use spray paint for this project, but I just prefer the finish that rub and buff gives you. And you also don't have to deal with buying primer and sealant spray if you go with rub and buff. Also, it's a lot easier to use indoors, which is especially helpful during this colder time of year. However, be sure to follow the package directions and work in a well-ventilated area. Before starting, cover your table with either some old newspaper or a trash bag, something that you don't mind getting dirty so that you don't ruin your surface. Then open your windows and put on some gloves. Put a pea-sized amount of rub and buff on your applicator and start smoothing it onto the surface. I worked in circular motions, but you can also go back and forth, whatever works best for you. Go all the way around your item until you have an even layer. I did some areas slightly thicker, specifically those little bumpy outer edges of this piece, to make sure that the rub and buff really got everywhere. Once that side was done to my liking, and because I had some areas that were a little thicker, I let this out for about 10 minutes to fully set before moving on. Once I felt that it was dry, I flipped it over and did the same process on the opposite side, and again let it sit for about 10 minutes before moving on. Next, in a small container, I mixed together some black and gold alcohol ink with my toothbrush, and then carefully flicked it over the top of the star to add a little bit of a tarnished look. Alcohol ink evaporates very quickly, so I recommend adding a few drops of isopropyl alcohol here to make sure that you can keep dipping your toothbrush back into your ink and so that you don't have to constantly keep remixing. I used black and gold because together they make more of a bronzy black tone, and I thought that that went well with the antique gold rub and buff that I was using. Once one side was done to my liking and it was fully dry, I moved on and repeated the process on the opposite side, wiping up any larger drips with a paper towel. And that's it, you're all done, which means it's time for the reveal. Here it is. I love how this turned out. The rub and buff helps to remove that shiny yellow plastic look that this had originally and makes it look way more weathered and antique, and just overall elevates the entire look. Now this looks less like something that I got at Dollar Tree and more like something I found at an antique store or got at a nicer store. I love the look of the rub and buff by itself. I think it's a lovely sort of patina, but I think that the alcohol ink adds a really nice tarnished element to it that just makes it look more antique. This project is super quick and easy. It can be used for not only things at the Dollar Tree, but the thrift store as well. And you could do something different than a tree topper. You could do bells, a picture frame, all sorts of things. Speaking of bells, I ended up doing this same process on some Dollar Tree bells as well, and they turned out great. I also added some scrap velvet ribbon to tie them onto my tree or to just tie them in general, and I just think they look so much better than when they started. Again, you could do this with spray paint, but I think that rub and buff really adds to that antique metal look. I'm curious to know how you would do this project. Would you do a tree topper? Would you do something else? Would you use it to maybe make some personalized gifts for people? Just let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!